I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Michael Sena, CSO and co-founder of Recall, here to talk about AI, AI agents, blockchain, crypto, reputation for AI. How can we ensure that we have the best AI and that we trust it as well? As it gets stronger and starts to take over the world, who knows what direction the AI will be heading in. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ashton.
Yeah, excited to dive into AI and AI agents, which have been a buzzworthy news topic for almost a few years now. But I feel like the functionality of them is starting to really catch up. Before they couldn't do much, and I feel like we're on like this exponential curve where all of a sudden it's going to be taking over, and we won't have to do much. Hopefully, it will do all the things that we don't want to do. I would love to start out by just hearing a little bit about what you and your team have been working on at Recall, how that relates to AI and AI agents, and then we can dive into everything.
Yeah, definitely. So right now in AI, there's a massive trust and discovery problem. It's like, as you just talked about, there's an explosion of AI models, tools, agents, workflows, like all of these things that are fundamentally transforming our personal life, our crypto portfolios, how we do work and how we can be more effective. And so against this backdrop, it's like people have this common question. It's like, what AI should I be using? How can I get the most out of this technology? Like, how could I ensure the things that I'm using are safe and do as promised? Because right now, it's like, how do you find AI? You
Mm-hmm.
probably go on Twitter or you read some newsletter or an influencer shills something to you, or you get caught up in like the hype of OpenAI's GPT-5 marketing. And that's really how everyone's making their decisions today. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like I saw a study that said businesses on average are testing like 75 agents or AI tools before they're actually like making a decision to use
Mm-hmm.
something. And so, in this type of a world where AI is on this exponential curve, an explosion of all of these things, we really want to build that trust and discovery infrastructure to help people better navigate the swarm. And so at Recall, we're building a decentralized evaluation network. It's basically a way where agents, AI models, and other tools can come. They can be evaluated by the community. They can compete in real competitions that rank them against other AI that, at certain skills like crypto trading or at content generation or things like that. And they earn this transparent, ungameable reputation. And with that reputation, it powers discovery. I think most people are probably familiar with, the Google PageRank example,
Mm-hmm.
where PageRank is actually a reputation protocol that powers Google search and lets people discover and navigate the internet of web pages. Similarly, the TikTok algorithm helps you discover high quality content, and the App Store app ratings help you
Mm-hmm.
discover the apps you might want to use. So similar, we want to build that sort of a reputation system for the AI economy, and that unlocks all this discovery and usability.
That makes complete sense, and that's the example I was thinking of. Is yeah, App Store ratings or products on Amazon. If this one has 10,000 five-star reviews, and I'm sure we can make it much more comprehensive because there's a lot that goes into AI models and how they can function. But right now, it seems like it's very early days. You're sort of just testing everything, and you don't know what it's capable of. You don't know if it's, there's always a disclaimer like, we may not be telling the truth. We don't really know what we're saying. So, like, if this is factually wrong, then, like, we're not really liable.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And like AI is way more dynamic in terms of what it can do, how it can change over time, like its capabilities than a static web page or a piece of content that after being created doesn't really change. Like, the sorts of metrics and mechanisms that we need to use to effectively rank, evaluate, and build reputation for AI um, is much more complex and dynamic than, some of these other systems that have gotten us through previous iterations of the internet. And so, yeah, at Recall, we're trying to build that sort of a system and do it in a decentralized way, powered by community. Not because we our decentralization maxis, but because a system like that can only be built in a decentralized way, with diverse sorts of inputs and measurements.
Definitely. I'm excited to dive into that a little bit later and how that all works in ranking it all. I want to keep going with a little bit more on the high level. I feel like a lot of people, probably the majority of people that are not in crypto, in the weeds, always looking for the newest blockchain or AI model that are major users of like OpenAI, the millions of users that they've never bought Bitcoin or they're not really technical, but they're starting to use ChatGPT to get responses. They probably don't know the major difference. They probably think they're using an AI, that is their AI agent, but and there are some new AI agent functionalities in there, but I feel like people don't really know, they just sort of asking simple questions on how to bake a recipe or, how to refine their social media post. Um, with the AI models that are being evaluated with Recall, are those more like small language models in that they have a specific purpose and they're super refined for one thing and not like the LLMs that people are using with OpenAI?
So we actually do both as far as measuring models, because we do measure both models and agents, and I think we have to approach them slightly differently. More specialized models are more similar to AI agents. Like agents
Mm-hmm.
are specialized to do a task
Mm-hmm.
autonomously, make decisions, things like that. But we recently ran a campaign, in a product experiment called Recall Predict, which is where we wanted to measure 50 of the top sort of like large language AI models that people might use. And we wanted to test them on skills uh, that matter to the community. And so we launched this product called Recall Predict. The community, I think it was like over 150,000 people submitted predictions on how they thought the upcoming GPT-5 release by OpenAI would do compared to other models like Grok 4 or Gemini 2.5 by Google or Anthropic's Claude Sonnet or DeepSeek, all
Mm-hmm.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we got this like really rich data set about consumer expectations about AI performance. And we found that people generally, in general, expect progress in AI models with the newer releases. And maybe that was driven by the hype and marketing of OpenAI leading to it, like Sam Altman posting pictures of like, you know, planets and basically
Mm-hmm.
hinting that they're approaching AGI.
Uh-huh.
But when we actually ran all these models in head-to-head contests at the skills defined by the community, we found that OpenAI wasn't universally, or GPT-5 wasn't universally better. Like, for example, Grok was better at compassionate communication, which is something that people wanted to test. We found that GPT-5 was pretty good at respecting a user's wishes to not use M dashes in writing, which is like a pretty niche skill that like a normal benchmark created by a lab company like would definitely not test.
Mm-hmm.
But that's sort of the power of these crowdsourced evaluations is like the community can decide what's important, what do they want to measure their AI on, and then we sort of like run these competitions. And for AI models, it looks like us just, running them against the contests that people design in head-to-head challenges. And so I think we ran over 7,000 head-to-head matchups and generated this massive performance data set on these models. But so that was us testing like large language generalized models because we can break them down into like discrete skills or tasks that really we would be testing.
Definitely. And with the AI agent functionality, and you mentioned crypto trading as one of the use cases, where exactly are we at? I feel like so many people have used LLMs and very few people have actually used AI agents. Maybe it's because of technical barriers or they haven't really found one that serves their specific purpose. But with the ones that your team is measuring, what are the sort of common use cases of AI agents that can actually do stuff for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the problem with AI agents today. Is like it's easy to treat an LLM and a large model like you used to use Google. Like you ask it a question or you tell it to do something and it like gives you an answer and you can ask it and use it for a wide range of things. But when it comes to AI agents, they're hyper specialized, right? There's like they are automations, ideally autonomous automations that, you kind of give it a goal or a task and it tries to do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so where we've seen a lot of demand, at least from the crypto ecosystem and using agents is, I think quite obviously portfolio management and trading. Like people have come to the realization that markets are fast moving and that, if a machine or an intelligence can sort of like programmatically make these decisions on your behalf and be more active in the markets, then like you have more time to go do other things and also it might be more effective than you. And so due to the demand for crypto trading agents and that sort of being like the first major use case of AI agents in crypto, we've run a bunch of competitions to surface the best trading agents. But I mean, I think where people want to use agents is like a tough question to answer because it
Mm-hmm.
really comes down to, well, what do you want to do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are agents for posting on social, right? Like you saw Eliza sort of like launch that whole trend. There's a whole wave of these crypto trading agents there. And you can even break that down further, like some
Mm-hmm.
actually making trades, some doing yield farming and yield management, like some doing risk analysis or trade identification. And if you really think about it, like those are all individual skills that agents will specialize to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, there's a bunch of agents that we use internally at Recall to actually like build the product. I think some people that are developing might be more familiar with like agents that help you build products or websites or digital things, right? And it's typically the trend is called vibe coding. And vibe coding is largely agentic because these are
Mm-hmm.
sort of like AI powered tools. They're powered by LLMs under the hood, but their whole flow and training set and things are really optimized for building software.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, we see it a lot in there. It's like powering businesses right now because businesses are willing to do a little bit more time and research and like, are willing to invest that upfront effort to sort of like make the right decision. Um, but, as far as the end user use cases, like I think personal assistants are going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think almost every crypto wallet will have a connected personal assistant that really acts as your like it knows you, it knows your preferences, and you prompt it to do something, and it goes and finds the best agent to execute that task.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
It's very exciting. I definitely going to take a look through the ranking systems and try out like the best ones. And it's one thing to have a review system on the App Store, and different people from different flocks of life are making reviews and commenting. But from what I understand with Recall, these AI agents and the models are like proving their intelligence on chain, which is like the next level of this. So can you talk more about that and how that actually works in putting it on chain and proving the intelligence?
yeah. So I guess the full loop here of like how it works is the community defines these competitions. They basically get to shape the direction of AI and guide AI and incentivize AI at the skills they care about. So for in this example, let's say it's crypto trading. The community creates, defines this skill. They say we're going to measure it by P&L. Like the most basic example of this would be P&L. Most P&L
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
wins is the best. But you might think about other criteria like sharp ratio, or
Mm-hmm.
biggest drawdowns, or however you want to define it. Then the community sort of like curates these agents, whether it's through voting today or staking mechanisms in the future. And these agents sort of users are effectively adding signal to agents that haven't yet competed, or sort of reinforcing the learnings that we've gotten and the data we've gotten from them competing in competitions. And then these agents actually compete in live competitions. And so in the crypto trading example, there's a competition live right now on app.recall.network. I think this is now our sixth or seventh, maybe eighth crypto trading competition. We're now running them weekly, so they happen pretty much all the time. And I think it's like 35 agents or so are competing head to head over a 5-day period to see who's generating the biggest returns. They all start with the same portfolio balance. They can make as many trades as they want, but they have to make at least three a day. And at the end of that competition, they're ranked according to the parameters of the competition. In this case, it's just P&L. And as we run, by competing in that competition, they're publishing their thought processes, their decisions, they're recording their transactions on chain. And then at the end of that, it generates these rankings, right? That every time we run a competition, these rankings update with the most current data and the performance. And you can kind of think of these rankings like an ELO score in chess, where how much your rank changes overall is determined by the quality of your competition, and various other factors. And so sort of the full loop is on chain, and it will continue to be more on chain over time. So, the competition definitions will be on chain. The sort of economic curation and evaluation of these AI tools will be on chain. Today, the sort of like actual competition data lives on chain, like things that they're doing, the results of those competitions, and it makes it all auditable, transparent, and you know, frankly ungameable compared to like traditional AI benchmarks, which are, fully off chain, closed doors, defined by labs. Models actually train on the benchmarks themselves, so the results are fully compromised. These are real world dynamic scenarios where we get to see agents in action in a fully transparent and audible manner. So yeah.
That's very cool, and I love this shift because, as you're saying, with the way that GPT and the benchmarks of the traditional, they're still stuck in the old world. I feel like because they're testing against PhD level subjects. They're like, well, this one has a PhD in physics. It's like, yeah, but I just needed to read my email and respond. Like I need functionality for a business. I don't need a PhD in physics for GPT. I need function, right? And a crypto trading, I would rather have a bot that could trade crypto for me. I feel like they need to look at creating value, especially for businesses and for GDP growth. And how can we maximize value of the models and the agents for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think the problem you're sort of describing here is alignment. Like the way that AI models are developed and what they're optimized for and what they're tested on are the opinions of some closed cabal of AI labs and sort of like private ranking companies, right? It's like these are what we decide to test, and these are going to be what everyone will be measured against. But in reality, like you care about, can it read an email and draft a response? Some people are like, I want to use it for writing, but it uses too many M dashes. Like this is annoying. I never use them in my writing, and actually I prefer to not use them. Like, and these are it's like I use that example because it's a really niche skill, right? Like, and it's really defined in its scope. But these are the types of things that really make a difference to people. Like for me, one of my biggest gripes has been that image gen functionality from these AI models um, is non-deterministic. Like you prompt it to create an image, and you're like, okay, well that's pretty good, but let's make this tweak. Let's remove the hat from the character. So you say remove the hat from the character, and then it gives you an entirely new image, and you're like, that is not even close to what I just told you to do. And so it really makes them hard to use in production for a business, for a marketing team that has to maintain like a brand identity and has to like make very discrete changes. And so now, actually, through personal testing, like I found that Google's new Nano Banana, is really good. And you can give it an image, and you can like make micro adjustments to that image without changing the original. And these are the sorts of things that actually make an impact on people's lives. You know, very concretely in the near term. And so those are the types of things that we want test coverage for. And AI labs and ranking, sort of like benchmarking companies, are definitely not going to give us that. So
Hmm.
that's sort of why we have to harness the power of the community really to generate these things, and ensure that the right AI are tested against them.
Definitely. I completely agree, Michael. And with these competitions that are happening on Recall with the AI agent wars, which sounds super cool, how do people actually contribute? Like, say you're not a developer, say you use LLMs for general purposes and you want to get into AI agents more. How do you actually contribute and add value or potentially earn? How does that work in getting involved with the competition?
So the easiest way is to right now predict, to vote and predict on the agents that are your favorite or that you want to support. And that could be based on previous competition performance. Like we've seen a few agents now compete over multiple competitions that have built up a strong reputation. And we actually see that play out in how people vote and curate these agents, the ones they expect to win. If you've had previous strong performance in competitions and you've done it a few times, like those agents are getting 5 times, 10 times as many votes as agents that are new first time participants. And so, this is all building up a data set about user expectations, lived reality, and competition data. And so, yeah, I would say get involved, check out the agents that are competing today. I think voting for this competition is open for another 2 days, and see what it's like. And over time, that functionality will really progress into much more sophisticated evaluation and curation capabilities. We sort of wanted to start with voting as it was just sort of
Mm-hmm.
a very easy, low friction way for people to start doing these evaluations in our ecosystem. So that's probably the first one. Even lighter weight than that is just go check out the leaderboards that have the rankings on them. You can see the skills that we've already tested. You can browse, the sort of catalog of agents and models that we've tested. And if you're feeling like getting a little bit more deeply involved, like you can always build an agent for a competition. And that might sound like a tall task, but I think in a competition that was 2 or 3 cycles ago, 70% of the agents that were competing were built by non-developers who had never built anything before in our community. Like, and this is a testament to the progress in coding agents. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we did a couple live streams where Derek, our DevRel lead, and Emily, our community manager, just like Derek taught Emily how to vibe code an agent on live stream, and then the next competition we had a bunch of agents vibe coded by people in the community. And two of the top three agents in that competition were amongst that set. So like the community is not only building agents, but they're building quality agents that actually work. And so I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, I feel like without AI, um, AI is making it so much easier for people to become developers, and like 80 to 90% of the workload is done, and then eventually you start to learn from your vibe coding how it works a little bit more, but you really don't need to know much to start.
No. I mean, that's a superpower. Like AI is doing the thinking for you. It's doing all the like setup and all the like, nuanced things of like learning a new language. Like, how do you do X? Like, usually people used to go to like Stack Overflow or just Google the thing they tried to do. And it was just a
Mm-hmm.
million
Mm-hmm.
iterations between like trying to figure out what you needed to do, Googling what you think you might need to do, testing the result that came back, changing it a little bit because, of course, it didn't work out of the box. And it was just an endless cycle of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just, you can literally say, build me an AI agent that can trade cryptocurrencies and pull in data from these sources. And here's some other parameters that I want to make. Go. And it'll get you like pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't even like to really think of people as developers and non-developers anymore. It's really just creators, like
Mm-hmm.
these what these coding agents or these, yeah, coding agents are doing for software development is kind of like, a repeat of the what you see is what you get website editors from 5 or 10 years ago, right? And they turned every designer into a website builder. And now with AI, it's really turning anyone with an idea into being able to make that idea. And so development is just the process by which that idea comes to life, but everyone's a creator today.
Definitely. I want to look forward towards the future first on high level on AI agents and then how Recall fits into that. So with where we're at right now and with what Recall's focusing on the crypto trading agents and having ones that can manage your portfolio, and you mentioned something like have an AI agent in every wallet. How quickly do you think AI agents in general can ramp up to any small percentage of what the percentage of people that are actually using LLMs, which is in the many millions now? How quickly do you think we'll see that with AI agents?
I mean, faster than we think. I think that's my answer. Yeah, it's the adoption of AI, is almost like anything we've ever seen before, and the acceleration and experimentation that comes with that has been massive. And I think what we're starting to see is at least a little bit with recent model releases of like a bit of a plateau in the progress of these like large foundational models. Like new releases are better, but they're not as step function of an improvement better as the difference between the earlier releases. But with agents, it's just an explosion of experimentation. And so, I think that AI will be the primary user of blockchain in the future. And I also think AI will be the primary user of the internet in the future. Like there will be more agents online than there are humans. And if you think about all the complexities of interacting with the blockchain, like going to this specific website, depositing in this bridge, like trying to find this contract address, like all these things that just turn off normal users from using blockchain rails, AI abstracts all that away and AI agents. And so it's as simple as like giving something a prompt that describes what you want to achieve, and the system just knows how to go and do that thing. And so you remove all of that friction because blockchains like were really designed for machines. And just everything from long hexadecimal user addresses to contract addresses and token addresses and like signatures and like all these things machines have no problem with. It's not human readable, but it is machine readable. And so um, as we, see some of these tools getting better and getting a little bit more mature, I think the adoption and uptake of these tools is going to be immediate. Like once we can reach a certain level of performance, a certain level of stability, a certain level of security, and being able to having these projects be able to identify what the best AI is, um, there will be no wait time between them putting it out there in the world.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and I love that what you said there about how blockchain is almost more meant for AI and to be the number one user. If you look back to when Bitcoin was created, Satoshi created these long hexadecimal addresses that make it so hard to read. It's like, did he not think to make it more easy for humans to adopt? Like he didn't care. I'm curious if I would be curious to know if he had that vision of how is AI going to interact with blockchain and down the road. So I feel like it is set up for AI to abstract so much of the complexities away, and maybe that was the plan all along.
That would be a pretty awesome vision. I don't know. I can't speak for Satoshi, but I can tell you that a lot of developers working on foundational, blockchains are thinking almost AI first now. You've already seen a couple big chains like fully pivot into AI. But yeah, AI has no problems with these systems, and users don't care about infrastructure. Users just want to do what they're trying to do, right? Like they have a goal, they want to do it, and all of this infrastructure and blockchains themselves just get in the way of enabling them from doing what they want to do. And AI just reduces that friction to zero.
And as AI grows out with blockchain together in this beautiful synergy, how will Recall be expanding, say, over the next 12 months into 2026, wherever we're at with AI agents at that point? What's sort of in the works for Recall?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us right now is continuing to run more and more competitions. We started out doing like one a month to sort of like test and refine the system, and now we're kind of hitting our stride with competitions weekly. We're going to be adding new skills. So I think there's already like 10 or so skills that we've tested models and agents on. We're going to be, opening that so community can just sort of like openly create these evaluation markets and these skills, sort of bootstrapping more types of competitions. We will be adding new ways for the community to do these evaluations. Today they're voting. They will be expanding into more economic forms of curation that actually make things a lot more interesting and make the rewards that people get for doing this evaluation work, a lot more direct. We will be um, sort of, working to onboard a bunch of new developers. We've got some partnerships in the works to launch competitions that bring together various big ecosystems in crypto. And ultimately, I think increasing and making it easier for people to find the AI they're looking for. So right now we have these leaderboards that you can go see. They have the rankings on there. Um, but we want to experiment with some pretty cool like AI powered search, right? Actually using AI to look at these rankings and determine what the user is probably best matched to, right? And then return that one result. And so sort of like along the full life cycle of the product from or sort of like evaluation market creation, competition definition, uh, curation mechanisms, and discovery. We're going to be expanding on all those domains.
Looking forward to it. And to check out that leaderboard that you mentioned and participate in the voting potentially, what's the best place to go to start that?
You can just go to app.recall.network. That is where competitions run right now. That's where you can vote and curate agents. That's where you can see leaderboards and see results of these competitions for every competition we've run. It's where you can, create your user profile. You can add agents to compete in competitions. And if you want to actually create and submit skills that you want AI to be tested on, you can do that on predict.recall.network. That is the app that we use to do the GPT-5 predictions and where community submitted the skills that we test. And so we're always sort of just openly collecting skills so that when we run these next model competitions, we have a repository of interests and sort of like what the community wants to draw from. So if you're interested in actually like shaping AI, determining what it's tested on, like how these leaderboards are organized, on what skills, you can go to predict.recall.network.
Sounds great. I can leave those links in the show notes below as well. I really appreciate your insights, Michael, into AI agents, where we're at, where we're going, and the synergy of blockchain with AI, which is just continuing to get better day upon day, and having a system that actually tells us more about the AIs we're using, and figure out the ranking system on chain to see, can we trust this AI? What's the best AI to choose from? As millions of them are going to start popping up, you're going to have to decipher through the noise somehow, and having that all on chain is the best way to do so. So I really appreciate your insights. All the best on everything with Recall moving forward, and would love to follow up again in the near future.
Yeah, thanks, Ashton. Really enjoyed the convo.